And we're live. um, we are back. It's been a while. I can't remember how long it's been since we've. It's been at least a few months for sure. Like, we've been busy.
It's been a few months. Yeah.
You've
Been
been
busy
healing,
and I've been dealing with some medical stuff and my I somewhere along the ways I got an infection in my left foot and so I just haven't really been doing it. That's why I haven't done any videos, man. I can't really be standing,
right?
and I've been itching to get back. Just when I was getting ready to get back behind the camera, all of a sudden I found out I had this infection in my foot. I'm just kind of like, this sucks. I got to stay off my
Yeah,
feet. I could do them sitting down, but I just don't. I'm so animated.
right. No, I totally understand that. And like and since then, I'm on a new shift at work, so like I'm not on overnights anymore, and so it's like,
Which you're
um,
happy about.
yeah, very happy. It's like it's made difference. And like, so hopefully, and I'm off, I have like 2 days off in a row now, so it's like, so hopefully, like, we've kind of gotten a nice rhythm here at home and like at work, so maybe we can start doing these a little bit more frequent. It's like maybe like at least maybe once, like maybe twice a month, or whatever, like just to, you know but like
Yeah.
we're still figuring everything out. So hopefully, because I enjoy writing these questions. Like, if you've never seen the show before, like our main topic today is going to be Army of Darkness, or Ash versus the Evil Dead.
E-
Uh,
Evil Dead and Ash versus the Evil Dead and everything
yeah,
else that surrounds Evil Dead.
and then I'm like, I enjoy writing out, and then at the very end of the podcast, I write down a bunch of questions that I asked Wolfie here, and it's just like, and so today, just to kind of give you a heads up, today I don't have as many questions as I normally do, but the questions I have could spark some very in-depth conversations. And so that's kind of, I want quality over quantity for today. So I'm like, some of these, I think some of these will kind of like um cause us to talk about a little bit, because uh I know one for sure may differ hardcore, but I'm not quite sure. So, um, but anyways, what's
Yeah.
we'll start with like the overall branching questions. Like, where does Evil Dead rank in your like um your ranking of everything? Like, because we and you are big into horror. Like, where does it rank in there?
So this is I mean, okay, Evil Dead. If we're talking the first movie, it ranks in the top 20.
Oh, okay,
If we're
same same.
talking about Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness and the goofy comedy side of it, it's a little further down because I like my horror to be horror
Right,
and I like my comedy to be comedy. And I mean, so I know a lot of people love Evil Dead 2. I mean, when you look at a lot of lists of people's favorite movies, Evil Dead 2 is right there in the like a top 10, and it's good, but it gets a little too slapsticky.
mm-hmm.
I love the first one because the first one is just here's these guys from Michigan that want to make a horror movie, and they're making a horror movie, and by the time you get to the second movie, they're like, okay, we made the horror movie, but Sam Raimi is highly influenced by the Three Stooges, so now he's like, well, let's see how much crap I can get thrown on Bruce Campbell's face,
Right.
or whatever, and you know,
Even the other
and then when the
actors.
third one comes, Bruce Campbell is just when the third one comes in, Army of Darkness, Bruce Campbell is just in Bruce Campbell mode doing I mean, the smart
So,
assy, you know.
so like that's because I'm kind of in the line with you as well, because I love, like, Evil Dead. I think the first Evil Dead is my favorite of the bunch. You know, I love I quote Army of Darkness more than any of them, and I like how Evil Dead 2 kind of streamlines the first movie, and then makes it its own in the later half of them, and like the rest of the movie after the first 10 minutes or so. But like from like a straightforward movie,
Yeah,
that's what I like the first one, and I was on another show. I was like on like Hobbs or the Boneyard, Mr. on Bones' show, and we were talking about like transfers and everything. And I'm like there's something about that first movie where like I have Evil Dead on DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K, and so it's kind of like I'm being able to watch it in three different formats and like make it like you can get three different experiences from watching it. Like I'm like, but my main thing I brought from that thing was like, there's something about the grittiness of it that makes it really good, and that's
yeah,
and like and I was like, as much as I love how much it looks clean and everything in the newer transfers, but like I have like I'm sure I think you do too. Like I have one of the copies where you can clearly tell there's a box around the moon. You know, they
yeah.
imposed the moon sky, and I'm like, to me that just adds to the charm of it all. You know, and like and
Exactly.
and so that's and like and as much as I like the second, like I mentioned, the second one and third one, it's just like they are a little bit too clean. Like they're not as gritty as the first one, and that's kind of why I like the first one. Like I will bounce back and forth between the first and third one just because I quote the third one so much. But I if I had a gun to my head and be like, hey, like pick one of these three to watch for the rest of your life, I'm like, it's going to be the first one because like it's more suspenseful, it's dark.
Yeah,
Like Campbell gets put through the ringer. Like he's the unlikely hero because like you think it's going to be somebody else, and he ends up being the guy who survives it all. And I like this like I just like it, even though I do like the stop motion in they have stop motion in the first one, right? That's when everyone starts melting, right? I think it's been a
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So like that gritty stop motion feel to it, and I'm like, and I know it. And it's like, oh, I love that. It's like it fits so well, and so 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 Evil Dead definitely ranks in
And
the
the
top.
other, yeah,
Go ahead.
and the other thing about the first one that really feels unlike, and don't get me wrong, I'm not slamming Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, but
Yeah,
the first Evil Dead feels so much like an independent film. These are
right.
guys that are just trying to figure it out. You know, Sam Raimi's like, yeah, I used my father's, the tape recorder in the original film. It's his
Mhm.
father's tape recorder. They got they got a poster in the background for The Hills Have Eyes, not thinking anything of it. And next thing you know, Wes Craven's like, hey, I'm going to acknowledge this in Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm going to use a clip of this. And that became a friendship. I mean, it just, they're just, this is always the thing I like about old horror is like, you can tell when they're trying to figure it out. When they're like, okay, well, let's see. The Wolfman in 1941's Wolfman, we can't really show a transformation, but we can show a time lapse of his feet
Right.
to
Like
show
yeah,
that
like
he's are the Invisible Man.
right.
How they
That's
did the invisibility in the 1940s. They
right.
wrapped a black cloth around Claude Rain's head, shot him against a black background, and then shot him again with the regular background, and that way he doesn't show up on film.
Right.
How cool is
It's like
that?
the ingenuity for that all is just like it's out there. Like if you it's just something you don't know. What's it called in Evil Dead where they're doing that like the demon cam. You know, it's they just strapped a camera to a Vespa
It's
or whatever.
to a 2x4, to a 2x4, and they ran with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, that's like okay, that's like early. I don't know if you know who the the guys who did Crank. That's basically how they did that stuff. It's all like they were just constantly moving like with the
Trying
camera.
to figure it out as they go along. Yeah.
That's kind of why I like the
And
Crank.
that's a I like Crank too. Yeah, I mean Jason Statham, you know.
Right.
You
I got to see those in theaters, and I really
know. I like the first one better than the second.
same.
I like the first one better than the second. The second one was just kind of a rehash, but the second one was kind of fun.
I think that's what like. You knew what they were doing with the second one. They were just like, let's just have fun, and I knew they were having fun with the first one, but like the second one's like he has a heart that needs electricity, and he's like constant jolt
Yeah,
and
he's
like
got to have a
just see how he can do things. And it worked, for the most part, but yeah, and so like like we're totally on board. We're not slamming the second or Army of Darkness, but it's just like when I want to watch something scary,
you get to the second.
Go ahead.
You get to the second movie and you see that there's now bigger bucks thrown at
Right.
this.
Yes.
You get to the third movie and it's was it Dimension? But yeah, it was. I mean, they're just kind of like, okay, well here we're just going to back up a truckload of money and you're going to make the third movie and here you go. You can do whatever you want, you know, and it doesn't doesn't have that
Intimacy.
5 guys or 6 guys wanting to make a movie and trying to figure it out. They're like, oh, well now we have K&B effects. Now we have, we have all this,
Right. And like it kind of goes with like the first Paranormal Activity or Blair Witch. Like you can tell like it's an intimate project. You know, it's only like a handful of people out in the middle of the woods or someone's home and it's like it's shot like bare bones and and that every shot counts.
I never saw Paranormal Activity. It just never appealed to me. And as far as I don't want to get on this because the people have already heard the last 10 years my diatribe of how much I hate Blair Witch.
Okay, so we found our topic for the next episode. And so, like, I know your stance on it a little bit, but that's found footage. We're in the demons right now, so which actually I think demons are the focal point of the Paranormal Activity movies, but like at least for the first couple for sure.
So now we shoot forward. So we talked about the first 3 movies. Now we shoot forward to the series, right?
Yeah, we're sticking with the Bruce ones today.
And the series was on Stars, and it was a good idea, but it was a bad idea.
Right.
Stars as a pay-per-view channel is not as big as HBO or Cinemax or Showtime.
Right.
So not everybody has it. I didn't have it. So I didn't get to watch I didn't get to watch Ash vs. Evil Dead until it came out on disc.
Yeah.
So I was always like one season behind everybody. Same thing with Outlander. Dude, I love Outlander.
I never watched Outlander.
Dude, it's watch the first season. I mean, if you can find it streaming somewhere, watch the first season. Mm-hmm. You might get into the second season, but honestly, if you watch the first season, it's a time travel movie. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I knew. Like I knew. But yeah, we're to the Ash versus Evil Dead. I had Stars, so I was able to keep watch it as it was going, and um, it was a lot of fun. And it, I, like you said, I think Stars was its biggest help and biggest downfall of it all because of like how because Stars just wasn't
Right.
recognizable as big as HBO. And I think the thing is, I think Ash vs. the Evil Dead would be stronger now with the streaming services than back then because still think it was kind of that stuff was still kind of fresh and everything. And but like now it would be like, oh, let's do it exclusively for HBO Max or whatever, and be like, oh man, like it would be like more out there, but like I kind of like it not being out there. I think it's
Yeah.
kind of like it's like our thing, you know. It's like
It,
I'm not
it
trying to
almost
get
feels like that's what. Yeah, it feels like that with it being on Stars. I mean, it almost feels like the first movie again,
right.
because here they are on a lesser known channel
Mm-hmm.
trying to not revitalize, I guess revitalize an old story.
Well,
Um, but the nice thing is that with it on Stars, it's uncensored. They
yes,
get away with everything that they want. You
right,
know, if this was on Fox, or if this was on, NBC, they'd be there's no blood, there's no gore, there's no swearing, there's no, I mean, you don't hear Bruce Campbell say stuff about a woman's breasts, or yeah, I
right.
mean, it just um but
It would lose its charm in a heartbeat.
but yeah, in a heartbeat. I mean, yes, you don't need all that to make a good movie or TV show, but they really were able to just unleash the beast
Mm-hmm.
that is Ash Campbell on Stars. And that was the plus of it being on Stars.
It,
I think someone like HBO, I think they would have nerfed it a little, you know?
I don't
I really
know.
do. I think
I
even though they have stuff like Game of Thrones and stuff like that on there, um, I honestly think they would have said, "Oh well, kids know about you know Evil Dead. Let's let's try to make it more kid friendly."
um I I think they would probably. I think if it was like I don't think what they did it would go that far, but I think they definitely would have been like, let's make it a little bit more appeal to the masses. You know, like
Yeah,
where like, hey, just continue your
just do what you
universe.
want,
Yeah. So like,
dude.
yeah.
Honestly, watch Outlander. That TV show is like 99% nudity.
Well, didn't Star didn't Stars have black sails as well
I believe so, and I still haven't watched that.
on my list as well, and so yeah, like but yeah, I that first season was so good. Like, and you can like we were talking about how the first one, it's like you can tell like, oh, like the Bucks ain't there because this is the first season,
Right.
and so like that's just kind of just like do what we want to do, and if it gets canceled, that's because it could have ended with the first season. I think that's how it ended. Like it wasn't like it didn't
So,
have a clip or to a point, but
right.
uh,
It came to a conclusion. So here's the hilarious thing. So I got season one and I got season two on Blu-ray, right? And so I watched season one all the way through, no problems. I have two Blu-ray players in the house, but there was one hooked up to the older TV, um, because my mom likes Bruce Campbell, so we would watch this show together, Ash vs Evil Dead, and so I put in season two, and here's the weirdest thing. I and I will never. I'm saying this right now to all you Sony lovers out there. I will never own a Sony Blu-ray player ever again.
oh, is that
I had more problems with this piece of crap.
I think I remember you telling me about this. Like,
So I put in disc one. I watch it all the way through. No problem. Put in disc two. It would not read disc two of season two of
mm,
Ash vs. Evil Dead. And I'm like, what the hell? It wouldn't read it at all. So I go into go to the other Blu-ray player and put it in the Samsung. Plays it no problem. So now I gotta take Samsung out of the other room, hook it up, all this. It's not a
mm,
problem, but it's annoying,
yeah, I
you know.
understand.
And with everyone praising Sony, which I'm I'm not getting on my soapbox. I'm not getting I but yeah, so I hook it up and we watched that, and for the longest time I couldn't find season 3.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I I mean I could find the 3 and 1, it's like, "Hey, get all 3 seasons I
Yeah,
already got 1 and 2. I don't need them."
that was my
So
problem.
so I went to Big Lots. And Big Lots had season 3 uh and they had a season 3 steelbook. I'm like, "Okay, I don't need the steelbook," but I mean they didn't have just regular season 3 in a Blu-ray case. They just had the steel. I'm like, "Okay, fine. I'll buy it, it's not a big deal." Bring it home, watch it, and honestly, I don't want a season 4. I love the way season 3 ended.
No, I totally agree. I think that this is like it ended how they wanted Army of Darkness to end, and they got their way. They finally got their ending.
Exactly.
Yep, they finally got their ending.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and that makes me think. That makes me like, you know what? With the ending of Army of Darkness, it was meant to be. Because then we would have never gotten the series. Because what I liked about the series, especially that first season, was that it started off really super dark and scary with that opening and how that one deadite in the house at the very beginning, and
Yeah.
fighting off the two cops and everything. And I'm like, oh man. And then it got kind of goofy, and but but then there's a point in the first season where it stopped being goofy, and it became Evil Dead, and I'm just like, that's awesome.
Exactly.
Because like
Yeah.
because there's a lot of people associate Evil Dead with Army of Darkness, and because it's a little bit more, it's newer, but it's like very quotable and everything, and it's just like the big budget movie of the three, and it's just kind of like, wow. But he had some goofy moments with him fighting the little porcelain doll, and him being kind of like yeah, like hitting on Dana DeLorenzo's character. I can't think of her actual character's name,
Right.
but I know.
Right.
And then Mimi Rogers shows up, and I'm like, wow,
Ruby, right? No, not Ruby. It was
Ruby's. Oh yeah,
Maya.
Yeah. What's her name? Lucy Lawless is in this, and
Yeah. This.
and
Yeah. Yeah. We'll get to the guest stars in a second, but keep your thought going. Sorry.
yeah, it was just like wow. So he like let's just get the kind of like the goofiness out of the way, and it just got less and less and less, and then that final few episodes where they're back at the cabin, and he's fighting himself, um and it's just like that's awesome. Like to me, that's Evil Dead. Like
Yeah.
the only problem I had was I wish they kind of like darkened it a little bit. Like it was a little bit too bright for my take, but I wish it was just like they kind of just like made it a little bit more like dark. I don't know how, like I don't really how properly explain that.
You just wish the contrast was brought down a
Yeah,
little.
it would like yeah, it wasn't so like
I get that.
but that's the only thing.
I
It
get what you're
wouldn't.
saying.
Yeah, it wouldn't like. It didn't take me out of it. It was just like when I would do rewatches, I'm like, oh man, like I wish like once they got to when they got to the woods or past the little army situation or the little militia thing, it was just kind of like, oh man, like maybe like the contrast or the whatever just kind of just like started to like devoid of color a little bit, so it made it look a little bit more.
I see what you're saying. So yeah. So they're walking once they okay. So once they get through it all, you see that the mood has become more dark.
Right, yeah, that's exactly what
I
I'm trying
th-
to get at.
I see what you're saying. That's a good note there, man. I like that note. Yeah.
But that other than that, like that's the only thing because he starts out in the S Mart. They couldn't use Army of Darkness in the first season, but they he's wearing a colorful vest. His shirt is really blue, like really really blue,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and like everything up to that point and is like been really decently colorful and like which isn't a bad thing and just like I wish like as the like once they hit a certain point it's just like the contrast just like shifted not like but it, like gradually through over the whole series over the whole first season but like it's like things are starting to get realer or like more intense but yeah like
Yeah.
I that first season was great. I liked like even the El Jefe stuff. Like okay, like it can be kind of jarring, but it grows on you very quickly, especially when they get to his uncle's farm or whatever, and then you start seeing some demons in the flesh. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like,
Yeah, that was again, man. The first season, actually, all three seasons. I mean, you want to talk about the first season? The first season was really good, but
well, we can talk.
I think
Like,
I think it really found its ground. The first season was good, and this is like a lot of TV shows. I mean, a lot of TV shows start out and they're like okay, we're gonna hit the ground running, but it's when they hit their second season is when they hit their stride.
so
And
I didn't really care for the second season all that much. Like, I liked it, but I thought when he went back to his hometown in the third season is where they picked it back up. I thought that's where.
okay,
Um, I think they see. I think I've read interviews where Bruce kind of got into it with a few people, like on for the second season because the second season had some like gross out moments for like no reason, like the morgue scene. I think that was in the second season where he's like has the corpse body on his head and everything. I think that was and like you can see some male anatomy and
see,
everything. I think that
see,
was like
I think that was just I think that was just Sam Raimi being Sam Raimi. Again, I think there was at one point where he's like, let's see, kind of like Evil Dead 2. Let's see how much gross crap we could throw at Bruce, and how far can I push him to break him?
actually I don't think that was Raimi's choice on that one because I remember an
I'm just
interview
talking about the whole second season altogether because there's a lot.
but like I was like that whole that corpse thing. I think that was a showrunner's thing.
Right.
I think Bruce didn't really care for that. Like I really like I think he was like I think I could be totally wrong, but it's just something about like that scene. He's like it just doesn't. This is goofy. Like, it's not goofy.
Yeah.
Like it's just like it's not the show.
It's
Like
unnecessary.
yeah. And but I think he really liked everything else. I liked the stuff with what's the villain for the second season? Boy or
Ball.
ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked him. I thought he was a pretty good like foe for Ash. Like kind of like he actually had like a body to play off
Yeah.
of, and rather than just kind of like a demon. But and But I'm like, oh, like I really liked. I mean, I'm not saying the second season's bad, but I just like I definitely
I
like I
I'm like
did
you. I liked it when he went back to his hometown, and we got to meet. We got to hear about Ashy Slashy, and dude,
like
if you're gonna have anyone play Bruce Campbell's father, the
right
$6 million man,
Lee Majors,
Lee
right?
Majors, the
Yeah,
fall guy. I mean, it's you said it earlier. Lucy Lawless is in this.
right.
I mean, basically because Lucy Lawless was in Xena, and Xena was produced by Sam Raimi
And Robert Tapper. That's who she's married to, I think.
and Robert Tapper. Yeah, well, yeah, but I'm just saying. I mean, you all of a sudden you got this connection, and it's like, okay, well, we have that, and Ted Raimi shows. I have a hard. Here's the hilarious thing about Ted Raimi, because
Right.
I've watched movies with Bruce Campbell, commentary. Like I think it
Uh-huh.
was Evil Dead 1 or Evil Dead 2 that he talks about this, but he mentions the fact that growing up in Michigan, he babysat Ted Raimi as a kid, you know. So every time I see Ted Raimi, I have this running through my head. It's like, and I'm like, it's like, oh well, Bruce Campbell babysat you. That's just it's an ongoing monologue in there. It's and
My like
that and his jocks are the mighty.
what I associate Ted Raimi more than anything is the scene from Darkman when he gets his head stuck through the manhole. That's what that's like. I yes, I know he's the man in the suit sometimes and stuff like that, but it's just kind of like that's Ted Raimi. He's getting his head like ran over by Liam Neeson,
Yeah,
or Liam Neeson's causing his head to get ran over. But it's like, but yeah, and also like what I liked about the third season is that they
yeah.
brought
I
it shows you the consequences, or the like the aftermath of the first movie, like what happened when he went back home, like it like he was like, you know he killed
he
all his butt.
he was ostracized
Right, yeah,
for killing like all his sister and 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 his friends, and they
right,
even bring back that again. I don't know if you listen to commentaries.
yeah, I do. Oh yeah,
Okay, so Bruce Campbell's feelings about the goofy little magnifying glass
yeah.
that
He
he
like
gives
Yeah, he's like, this is like, he's constantly berating it on
on
the
the
comment.
commentary.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like whole
yeah.
thing. Yeah,
And they bring it back, and there's at one point he picks it up in season 3, and he kind of looks at it, and I'm thinking he's probably hating every second of picking that. It's like, oh my god, this damn thing again.
I know it. Like, and that also makes like, if you what's it called, um, canonizes how the second one is, because it shows you that he listen to the commentary, and so it's like Ash is someone who's dumb enough to go back to the cabin and with somebody, and because the
Okay,
way
just a
the
second, just a second. Stop right there. Okay.
oh, here we go, hot take.
No, no, no. It's just that a lot of people don't understand this, man. Evil Dead 2 is not a remake. He doesn't go back to the cabin. They couldn't use footage from the original Evil Dead
I know that,
to
yeah.
tell the story, that he went to the cabin. So even though they don't have all five
Friend.
friends, it's the same. He doesn't go back to the cabin. He It's the story. He went up to the cabin with his girlfriend. A lot of people are like, "Oh, well, the second one's a remake because he goes back to the cabin." He doesn't go back to the cabin. They couldn't use the footage because the footage from Evil Dead 1 was owned by someone else, and Sam Raimi has said they wouldn't allow it. So they
Right.
just reshot it. And so the first 10 minutes is just a reshoot of 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 the story to get you brought up to speed.
Right. Oh, I know. I was like, you had, because we had to talk about that aspect of it all because because there's characters from the first movie that show up in the final season and
Yeah,
everything, and so it's like obvious. And then he's like, because it's like, I think who is it? It's his sister, right? Who shows up?
his sister.
Yeah,
Yep,
and
Cheryl.
right, and like she gets locked in the trunk at one point, and I think she has like a kind of like maybe a similar Vine moment. I think, right? Or that Samara Weaving from the first movie, from the first season, where she kind of has a moment where she's being attacked by vines. I can't remember. Oh yeah, speaking of her, I can't really like Samara Weaving's in it. Like
Yeah.
she gets done out hard. She's like, oh man, her death is pretty rough. Uh, um, but yeah, um, but
The
yeah,
the show is just, I mean, it really worked, and I know that they canceled it early, and a lot of people are like, "Well, they need to do a season 4."
yeah,
No, no. I'm honestly 100% behind Bruce Campbell saying that he's done with Ash. Dude,
I
yeah,
like
y-
I go ahead. Sorry.
no, you get to the point where it's like, I mean, he just had a birthday. His birthday actually falls the day after mine, and he turned 60. Was it 66? I think it was.
Yeah, I think so.
Dude, if they do another movie with Ash, Ash Williams, he'll be in his 70s. They'll have to push him around in a wheelchair
They're
because,
gonna set it in a nursing home or something. It's like
yeah, it'll be like Bubba Hotep. You
exactly.
know,
And do a Boba Hotep
um,
too.
yeah. I mean, I got nothing against Bruce Campbell. I mean, to each their own. But when you see how much damage,
So,
I'm not, and I'm not talking about Bruce Campbell. I'm talking about Ash Williams. When you see how much
mhm,
damage Ash Williams has gone through,
right,
there's no way he makes it to 70.
and him driving into a like a deadite filled world or apocalypse or whatever, it was like that's it. Like that. Like we know what happens. He just drives off, and then he becomes Mad Max in this world essentially, and
Basically, yeah.
and so like I think it's what the first three seasons are equivalent to like what two or like almost like four new movies or something like that, right? All right, two or three.
Oh, at least 3 new movies, I
Yeah,
would say.
yeah.
You
So like,
know,
so it's like, and then I think that's what like interviews with Bruce, saying like how can you guys can complain about a fourth season? Like we literally gave you or wanting more from them. Like we gave you the equivalent of like almost four movies.
yeah.
Like like guys, like we gave you a lot of Evil Dead content to last a very long time.
And each episode goes by so quickly. By the time that was thing that that's one thing that kind of bugged me. It's like I turn on an episode, next thing you know, boom, it's over. I'm like,
Right.
what?
Right.
I'm so into it that it's over in a blink of an eye.
I I understand it, and so yeah, like we like the I think the overall the series ended with probably one of the best endings of a series. I think they knew they were going to get
I
canceled
agree.
early, and so they probably be like, yeah, let's just end it how he intended for it to end at all times. And then I'm okay with them doing a new series of Evil Dead movies, like with the remake and then Evil Dead Rise, uh,
I love
and like
both of those. I don't care
they're
what
like,
people say. Evil Dead Rise was a good movie.
so I so my problem with that one is that it felt like they didn't utilize the apartment complex as much as I thought they were going to. I I
Okay.
wish that was my biggest complaint. I liked the gore. I loved the character. I loved how everyone was on the chopping block. Like people who I thought was going to be okay died right off the bat. You know, I'm like okay, and I'm like, I just wish that like maybe they got some tenant like that was like the other renters of the apartment was going to be like a little bit more, but they kind of wrote them all out like, oh, we're about to like demolish the building or something like that, or like or turn it into something else or something like that. But that was my only complaint. Like I enjoyed the story, I enjoyed it all, but it just felt like they kind of just like wanted to. And I don't mind them taking it out of the woods either, because I have a
Right.
future coming out. I'm just I where I write the next Evil Dead movie. That's my next video, like my like decently long video that I have planned out. It's not gonna be a lot, and how I would write the next Evil Dead movie, and it actually kind of like follows with Evil Dead Rise because it's like you can't have what I want to happen without Evil Dead Rise. So it does have its significance and importance. So I'm like, okay, and I'm like,
And the cool thing is that Evil Dead Rise was actually, I mean, if you watch Evil Dead Rise all the way to the ending, it was technically a sequel to the remake of Evil Dead.
right,
You
it
know?
like, and that's kind of like I'm like, and then it goes right back to the woods, and I'm like
Yeah.
perfect, and I'm like that's where I'm like, so like we went to the woods, we took it out of the woods, and we brought it back. And because I think Bruce said like there's more than one book out there. I'm like yeah, and I'm like, and then that I don't want to divulge any like
Yeah, there's
how I write.
supposed to be 3 Necronomicons.
Right, because you see him in Army of Darkness. You know, it's like you see each book on the
Yes,
where.
but okay. So the,
Oh
no,
no,
no. No, no diatribe. No,
no.
no diatribe. But I always in Army of Darkness, you got the 3 books sitting on 3 separate pillars
Mm-hmm.
at the altar, and he's got to open the right book.
Right.
Well, to me, that just means that the other 2 aren't Necronomicons. They're just they're just that's not the word I'm looking for. They're just display pieces that are it's kind of like the scene in Indiana Jones in the Last Crusade. He's got to choose the right chalice.
Right.
There's a billion chalices there. Well, there's 3 Necronomicons, but only one is a true Necronomicon. The other 2 are just books.
Well, like, well, I know, but Bruce.
That's the way I always took it. No,
No,
I'm just saying that's the way I always,
no, like that. No, it makes like no. And I totally when I first seen it as well. It's like, but then when with like I know I keep harping back to this, but Bruce, you know, like he's like, yeah, it's like remember this scene in Army of Darkness? There's 3 books there, and like there's more than one book and everything. I'm like, but I'm like, oh yeah, there could be more than one book because it could be written by more than one person, or like each book has like a different set of rules, or like because like, say in Evil Dead Rise, like you
yeah.
don't see nothing about like them kind of like mashing together in the and becoming that big rat king looking monster, you know, like at the end of the movie. Like so there could be like different kind of rules for each book, and I'm like, oh, I like that a lot. Like like whether there's only one clear endings, like you have to dismember them. Like that's the true way to destroy it. But they're each book could have a little bit of different, like, here, just throw
I
this
see what you're
little.
saying. I see what you're saying. I'm just saying that when in that scene, that's the way I always took it. As like the other
Oh,
two weren't really books; they were just they were just there. They were distractors, is the word. They were there to distract you to make the wrong choice.
right, little decoys. Sorry, I
Decoys.
don't mean to
That's the
be.
word. Yeah. No,
Um,
that's what I was trying to think of earlier.
uh, uh, Connie, I didn't mean to. Um, but yeah, like back to the very first question. So where does like the whole Evil Dead franchise fit in your like horror repertoire? Like where does it fit
I
now with the series and the two newer movies? Like because where does it like fit on the pantheon of your horror Mount
So
Rushmore?
the whole franchise as the franchise as a whole, movies, TV series, new movies,
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely top 25.
Okay.
It's definitely top 25. Like I said before, the first movie is definitely going to be in a, top 20.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when you throw in the series, that adds a lot more. Again, like you said, the series got very dark,
Yeah.
so it brought back that horror feel to it. And you got some awesome cameos, not cameos, but you got some awesome guest stars, and the blood and the guts are there, and Bruce Campbell being Bruce Campbell. And then the new movies. My only complaint about the remake,
Mm-hmm.
and this is my only complaint. I think I might have said this to you before, is that when you find a book and it's wrapped up in barbed wire, you
Yeah.
do
I
not
remember. Yeah.
open it.
All right. It's
you do not open it. There's a reason it's wrapped up in
it
barbed wire.
and yeah, it's in a black trash bag s covering and wrapped in barbed wire. It's like, yeah, this probably ain't to
Let's see.
be. Yeah. where the original book, it's just laying out
It's just
there.
laying right
Yeah.
out there. Exactly. It's like I understand why they opened it up and they started reading from it, and they turn on a tape recorder and all. But when you see a book in a black trash bag wrapped in barbed wire, excuse me,
Right.
the first thing that goes through your mind is bolt cutters.
uh, but yeah. So so what would okay? So there's definitely top 25. Like, what would you
Yeah.
put above it? Just like that one notch above it.
What do you mean? I mean,
So
it's
like
from the
if if you had to if it was ranked, like what would be like, say if it's like 16, what would be it? What would be the 15th spot? Like what is slightly above Evil Dead for you? That's what I'm trying to say.
okay. Um,
What like yeah like what is like
are,
something
are
that
we going strictly? Are we
go
going
ahead.
strictly horror?
No,
Are we
it just
going
like
strictly horror?
we can, but I'm just like whatever like you think is like just slightly better than the Evil Dead stuff. Like whatever, like it's like for me, Evil Dead is definitely top 20 and 25 as well. But like there's always something like I will put like to me, I think The Thing is better than Evil Dead. That's what I'm trying to
Okay, well,
like.
yeah. Well, the thing is top 10 for me.
Okay,
So
oh, same for sure.
I mean, yeah. Um, but then again, that's not horror. That's sci-fi.
Well, you know what I mean. I just meant like just
No, 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 no. I just
uh
I see your eyes rolling, going, "Oh my god, don't get him on another
Yeah,
diatribe."
no, I mean, okay, fine.
No. I see what you're saying. What's slightly above that? Slightly above that. I mean, I'm trying to think. Do you want a franchise or do you just want what's so if the franchise? Okay, so franchise wise, what's slightly above it would be as far as franchises go. Uh, Tales from the Crypt.
Oh, okay,
You know, I mean, plus I'm also including the three movies.
right. Like Demon
You
Knight.
know,
What was the other
Demon
two?
Knight, Bordello of Blood, and the original Tales from the Crypt from 1972.
So,
You know,
yeah,
plus the series.
plus the series, yeah. So, yeah, so it kind of fits in with like you got a series of movies and a TV series as well. It's like okay, that's
Yeah.
oh man. So, I don't know what I would like. To me, like I love Evil Dead, and it means a lot to me in terms of like my horror pantheon and stuff like that. But like, there are other series, movie franchises that mean way more. Like, even the thing is, Burn Notice means more than Evil Dead to me. Okay, like because I think Burn Notice shows how good of an actor Bruce Campbell is. I don't think you really got to see Bruce Campbell act until Burn Notice, at least in my opinion. Because there's a scene in Burn Notice where Michael and Bruce are like coming to blows. You know, it's not even the
Oh,
final. It's just like they had a moment where like, hey, like there's only one way out this door and it's through me, and you could tell like, oh, that's Bruce Camp, that's Bruce's acting ability to its best, and, like right there it's
right.
like and so like that like that's why like I love Evil Dead, and I will watch Evil Dead to the day that I die, like the whole thing. But like I will, but I like Bruce, but I like Burn Notice more. But I'm just trying to give you a kind of like a gauge of things, but like, but when it
Well,
comes to like the
I get it,
horror
man. Bruno Notice is really good, and we talked about it before we started the show. It's like how
yeah,
good, dude. It had an awesome cast. Even though Sharon Gless got on my nerves from time to time.
same, his mom, yeah, uh, Lucy Lawless
Yeah.
shows up in the show, which was funny. Um, yeah, but
But you
yeah,
got again, I mean, you got these connections. You got Bruce Campbell, from Xena playing Apocalypse, so why not reach out and,
get
you
her back.
know?
Yeah, um, trying to think what would I put slightly above it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's the hard one. When you're thinking horror, you're like because you kind of want to be fair about it, you know?
Right, and it's like I'm not trying. And the thing is, like, what, like, in terms of like, what, um, constant, like, what actually, like, is a big long running franchise that's running decades. Like, Evil Dead, you got Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween,
Halloween, just Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
right,
you
and
know,
some of them just don't
the
have
Dracula film.
like with my problem with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, like is that they have tried to reboot and recanonize stuff so many times, kind of with Halloween as well, and it's like so that kind of knocks it down a few pegs, and so it's like
I agree.
it's to me Evil Dead has like overall it has like yeah it has some continuity issues, but like in terms of like being like the continuity, it's a little bit more it's more straightforward, and like even
Agreed. Yeah.
and so like it's not like I don't like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, but like there's days where I'm like I just want to watch a nice franchise, and like when I get to like when to Texas where Chainsaw 3D and Alexandria Daddario's throwing Leatherface's chainsaw, and like like get him, cuz, or whatever. I'm like,
I love that line. I loved that. I think I'm the only one on the planet that you know, that
I I
loved that
I love,
line.
I love that line. I will admit it here. I love and hate that line so bad because it's like, because I remember watching it and I don't think I was here. I think was I here in the basement or in the dragon stoop now. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like, I'm watching it and like she did that line and I'm just like, did she say what I think she said? And it's right up there with. Have you seen the new Total Recall movie?
The one with
With
Colin Farrell?
yeah, and
I actually okay. Yeah, go ahead.
okay, so there's a
Go-
line in that movie too that bugs me way more than that line. Okay, go watch the trailer for that movie, and then it's in the movie itself. I'm like maybe they edited it because she says something more dirtier than she she says because uh because she's like I give good wife. I'm like what? What's that mean? Like what? And because Kate Beckinsale's character is like she's an undercover agent for uh
Right.
and so she's spoilers but um so she's like she's beaten down on Colin Farrell and she delivers this line and I'm like okay, like okay, maybe that's edited for the trailer. And then I'm watching the movie, waiting for that stupid line to show up, and it's like I give good wife. I'm like because like the preceding moments is like how'd you do all this? Like how was you able to like keep up the persona? And then like I'm like oh, okay, so maybe that's she's just saying something dirtier. No, that's not like she didn't say what I think she was going to say, and it's just like that is like that's a terrible line, and like I will put "Get 'em, cuz" way up there, like as a way
I
better line.
I actually you know, that's back when I was reviewing for like a bunch of different companies at the time,
Uh-huh.
and I got a free copy of Texas Chainsaw, with Alexandria Daddario in it, and I remember watching it going, okay, aside from bad math, which we're talking simple math, you know,
Right.
we're talking the very simple. If you can't do addition and you're making a movie, don't go anywhere near making a movie. I mean, it's
She
the
should be like
simplest of math.
she should be way older than she is in the movie, right?
Yeah, yes, she should be like, I mean, she should be like in her late 20s, early 30s, you know,
Yeah.
something like that, you
Uh.
know, because her mom was you know, but you're just sitting there going, just a second. Okay. Aside from the really bad math,
Yeah.
um, I enjoyed that movie and I was kind of like, okay, they kind of did a really cool twist on this. She finds out that she's actually related to this
Right.
cannibalistic nutball family that
Right.
she didn't know that she had any ties to. And by the time the end of the movie's over, she realizes that she's related to Leatherface, and she's kind of like, "Do what you got to do, cuz," or "Get him, cuz," or, and I'm just
Yeah.
kind of like, "Yeah, she's accepted being part of the Nutball clan."
No, no, I totally understand that, and no, I totally get what you're saying, and I like if you go into thinking that way, I'm like yes, but I just like, but yeah, it's like I think it's just like the continuity of it all, like, and like with the new leather, like the like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like the one that came on Netflix. I'm like that one was a fun ride too, and they're like, well, let's bring Sally back and everything. And so it's like, so that's the true sequel or one of the sequels. And I'm like
I
I've
know,
lost,
yeah,
I've
dude.
lost.
It's the same thing with
So
Halloween. I
I
mean,
figured,
honestly, with Halloween, I think there's 5 ways you can watch Halloween.
right. Like,
You could watch Halloween and be done with it. You could watch Halloween 1 and 2 and be done with it. You could watch Halloween 1, 2, and 3, even though Michael's not in it, but he's on the TV, and be done
Right.
with it. Then you could just watch Halloween, Halloween 2, and Halloween 4 through 6 and be done with it. Or you could just watch Halloween 1, 2, and 7, which is H2O. And
Right.
be, I mean, it's
Then
hilarious.
you got the two Rob Zombies, and then you have and then you gotta
Like,
watch Halloween,
Rob
and
Zombie never made a Halloween movie.
then and then you made Halloween, and then Halloween whatever Halloween, and then
Halloween
Halloween.
Kills, Halloween Ends.
So there's like 12, yeah, there's
I
like 8 different ways, you know.
Yeah, and honestly, I tend to stand outside the box when it comes to how other people think. I didn't
So
mind Halloween Ends.
I think we both talked about this. I think
Yeah.
I didn't either. I think my dad, who doesn't watch horror movies at all, he's not like I've never associated horror movies with him, like other than
Well, no,
like
he's a Western guy.
right,
He's a John Wayne Western guy.
other than the Atomic Age stuff, you know, I've never been like,
Yeah.
or the movies that I've dragged him to, like Freddy versus Jason or Land of the Dead and stuff like that. But I've never really like he's never or Predator, you know, that's more of a sci-fi movie, horror as
It
well.
is
But
more
it's
sci-fi. It's
yeah,
not
right,
horror.
and but it's like okay, but even he was just like I liked it, like so it like even to the people who don't really watch horror movies, like it was okay. I think people just got butthurt because of like as the Corey character. But anyways, that's a whole different. We talked about that in the last one, I think, the last
Yeah.
video. Um,
Yeah.
but
One of them. Yeah.
yeah, but I've been sitting here thinking like, as much as I love the Evil Dead movies, but it wasn't, but it's those movies weren't my generation movie. You know, like that's I don't know. It's just kind of like what movies really like what series of movies that really kind of like got me, and I that spanned decades, and it's like I think I put Scream just a little bit above
I
Evil
knew
Dead.
you were gonna say that word.
Yeah, but like because I can't really, I don't want to put Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street because those have way more significance to me because those are the movies that got me into
Yeah.
horror. So obviously they're going to be up there, like at least top 10 for sure. But Scream to me was like, it was like, I liked it and it was different and I,
I,
because
I can't crap all over Scream. I actually like the Scream movies, but I hate the fact that Scream gets all the gets all the glory for reigniting horror when horror was still around. I don't give a crap what people say.
so yeah, I know what
You
you mean
know?
because they kind of like if
And,
slasher movies back or whatever. I'm like,
yeah,
like, like for us, like, so that, so I can understand why they said that at the same time, looking at the time period, but now it's like, because, it's just like, it never, horror was never dead. It just kind of took a little backseat to let everybody have their moment, you know, like, but like the true horror fans knew where to go and look and everything. It's like,
exactly. Thank you.
you just had to like look through.
And the
You
other
had
thing that's
go ahead. You just
and
had to
the other
know.
thing that always bothered me about Scream is, and I know you see this on Facebook too. You always see people saying, "What's the Mount Rushmore of horror films?" And it's Freddy, Jason, Michael, and Ghostface.
See, I wouldn't even,
Ghostface doesn't belong anywhere near because it's
so
always a different
person,
person.
right? And the thing is, I think that's also so. Like, here's probably why I put Scream a little bit above Evil Dead is that I've always enjoyed whodunits a lot. Like, because you know, like
I
I've watched the old 50 movies with Dad and old Alfred Hitchcock movies and stuff like that. And it was like I always liked the mysteries more than the horror, and so it's kind of like why I put. And sometimes, I love a good gory movie, but like I am someone who likes the mystery around things just a little bit more than like if you look at my top shelf, like my top tier movies, most of them are whodunits. Like it's like or mystery thrillers. Like you got the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movies, anything by David Fincher. Seven and what was the whatever. I'm trying to think what other. Even like The Thing. It's a whodunit. Like who like and
It's a
so
whodunit. It is. Yeah.
it's yeah, it's that's kind of why that's the only really reason why is not in quality of movies or films. It's just like
I got and I got no problem with whodunits, but it's just kind of funny that in the when Scream brought back the slasher,
mhm,
all of a sudden there were all these other movies. I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend, Valentine, you know, that were
mhm,
doing the slasher thing, but they were all whodunits. It was no longer the it's like, hey, here Friday the 13th has the myth of Freddy. Friday the 13th has the myth of Jason.
all right,
We know who Jason is. Nightmare has Freddy. We know who Freddy is. Halloween, Texas
Michael. Yeah,
Chainsaw,
like
you
the
know.
killers are
I mean, the killers are established.
right.
Whereas in Scream, you know, again, it's a whodunit, and you're just kind of going, okay. But by the time you get, and I like them. I like the Scream movies. I actually enjoy the last couple really a lot with Jenna Ortega, and you know,
I really enjoyed those last couple.
and yeah. But when you get okay, so for people listening that haven't watched Scream, deal with it. Billy Loomis, you know.
Yeah.
Second movie, Mama Loomis. Third movie, I'm expecting it to be Papa Loomis. You know,
Right.
it's not, but you know,
I will defend
but
three.
I
I like
mean,
it a lot.
I will defend three.
Yeah, I
I
don't even think it's the weakest of the bunch, and it's not even the most. Like yeah, if you had to break it down, there might be a weak. There obviously is a weak one. I think
It's got to be
four.
four.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah,
But I still think like there's a
but it
natural
has a
progression,
good story. But four still has a good story.
right? Like and like there is a natural progression to the Hollywood setting. It's not like because like who wouldn't want to make a Hollywood movie out of what's going on in Westboro? It's like it's
Yeah,
and it's just like that makes sense, and and obviously because it's already kind of been established that her mom was uh did they say that
a
she was
bit
an
of a horror.
yeah, and so she kind of had and aspiring ambitions and stuff like that, and it's just like so it's like it's not that out of the realm of being that far that into the Hollywood thing. So okay, so I want to get into our questions because we may go
Yeah.
have some family time to do today. So but
Okay. Yeah. So
definitely review. We'll come back to the Scream. Maybe that's another topic as well because I know
that's a
for a
topic
few.
for another day.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we've been going on that one for a while. So okay, so you know the format of for the most part. I'm giving you like two choices, and we will talk about the choices. Um, but I'm each each set of three will have a theme. So our first theme is it's called a director throwdown. It's kind of self-explanatory. I'm going to give you two directors, and we're going to see which filmography or body of work is the which one you like better. So, um,
Okay.
this one
Sounds good.
So the first one up is this is kind of like I was trying to pit two major ones together that are like I'm trying to put a couple older ones, a couple more like kind of like middle of the road, and then kind of more modern ones. So like uh,
Okay.
so the first up is Martin Scorsese versus Kubrick. Like which body? What
Scorsese.
Scorsese? So I you didn't even hesitate.
No, I didn't hesitate because, to be honest, like, okay, Kubrick made a few good films. He made The Shining, made Full Metal Jacket, and to me, that's it. Those are the. I loved 2001 when I was a kid. I tried watching it. I'm bored out of my mind. I've never understood A Clockwork Orange. I always thought it was just one of those movies that fell
I
into
really
cult status.
I got you.
Doctor Strangelove, again, it's another one of those movies I never really understood, never got behind. So to me, Kubrick only made a few good movies that
Did he
appealed to
Spartacus?
to 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 the masses, whereas Scorsese made a lot of movies that appealed to more people.
Right. No, I'm going to have to it's basically the exact same argument. Is my I love Full Metal Jacket. I love Clockwork Orange. I don't care for
Yeah, I don't get it.
2001. I never did. Yeah, it I it I, I just don't want. I don't understand. That's if I had to pick a movie like I don't understand the hype around. That's the movie for me. Like it was just like
When I was a kid, I
there.
loved it. Honestly, 2001 would come on, and I'd be like, okay, I gotta watch it.
I
Dun
think
dun dun dun, and now
like
I can't I can't sit through about half an hour of it.
where's Ric Flair coming out? Because he has the like where is
Cause
he?
yeah yeah yeah.
Woo,
Dun
yeah.
dun dun. Dun.
But yeah, like I totally
Actually,
agree. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say I don't think Ric Flair uses that music. Didn't he use
He at one time he did. He because he did use the dun dun at one time. I don't think he. I think
okay?
he did it at least. I
Because it
know he
was
did it.
more. It's it was
Go ahead.
more pomp and circumstance type of music that he used. You know.
I I think it was a mashup of a couple of different ones.
Yeah.
There was at one time he did use the 2001
Oh,
song. There
okay.
was a
I just don't remember it. But
I think I don't think he used it for very long, but it like he did it like because that's how I associated it with because it like because the way like the little dun dun dun. Um,
yeah,
so, but yeah, I'm like Scorsese has one of my favorite movies of all time. It's Casino. I love Casino,
Casino. Yeah.
and like I think Casino is better than Goodfellas.
You got to watch his comedies too.
Oh no, I
I
love me.
mean,
I love what is that one? Is it After Hours or
After
no?
Hours, After
Yeah,
Hours, and New York, New York.
yeah.
You
And then
know,
I
um,
like Hugo. I really enjoyed Hugo. Like he made a kids movie.
dude, it's not a kids movie. I
No,
think Hugo was one of his best movies ever, and it gets crapped on.
I knew what you were going to say. That's why I mentioned it that way. Because I think we talked about
I
Hugo at one time. And yeah, I think, yeah, like you said, I think Hugo, or not Hugo, Scorsese, I almost put Spielberg next to Scorsese, but I think we talked about a lot of Spielberg in the last few questions, so I had to like kind of switch it up a little bit.
oh,
But yeah, Casino, like, well, trying
Taxi
to think.
Driver.
Taxi. Oh yeah, I love. I watched that all the way through for the first time like a few years ago. I'm like, oh, it's not like I haven't seen the movie, but it was just or like no, I just never got to be able to like sit from point one to point A to B at the, but I
Yeah.
always caught halfway through or at the beginning or whatever. So, but yeah, so we both in agreement for Martin Scorsese.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a little bit more of a modern one. So, one's a little bit more. Yeah, well, not modern. I would definitely kind of like middle of the road kind of. Not ain't gonna be Quentin Tarantino. I'm telling you that because we've talked about him too. So Edgar Wright or David Fincher, they both have a weird set of like movies. I'm like, who has like a nice eclectic?
I think between those two, I'd go David Fincher. You
Ooh,
know,
this one's tough for me. Like,
that's a hard one because, I mean, in all fairness, it's like Edgar Wright has some stuff that I like, but not everything that he's done I like. Like, I'm not a Shaun of the Dead fan. You know that.
all right,
You know, but I love Hot Fuzz. So
right? No, no, like, and I see. Whoever I was talking about, was it you? I think At World's End is the better of the three movies, like the sci-fi
right.
movie. I I think that's their best work, like best editing, best writing, best collaboration between everybody. Like, and it has an all-star cast, at least to me. But but yeah, but then David Fincher, because as much as I love the Cornettos and Baby Driver, even Last Night in Soho, and everything, but I I can't pass up David Fincher's movies because as much as because I love Zodiac, I absolutely love Zodiac, and I love his take on the girl with the dragon tattoo, and like
Yep.
obviously Seven, and like I mean Ariel. We have one of our cats is named Kemper, and it's named after a serial killer from man. Like obviously he's a real life serial killer, but like from
Yeah.
the series
Yeah.
Hunter on Netflix. Like when we've seen him on screen, like and like oh there's our like oh we were struggling for cats names and we didn't want to like do like the generic cat names and but we fell in love with with that actor's portrayal of and like so we named our cat Kemper. Fits her well, and so yeah, I think David Fincher as well. I think he
David
even
Fincher just gets under your skin a
mhm,
little bit more than Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright knows how to make good, fun movies, but man, Fincher knows how to just
I
just get right underneath that skin and get to that
and as
nucleus that gets to you.
as much as he hates it, I like Alien 3. You know, like
I like
I
Alien 3.
yeah, exactly,
Again, it's another one of those movies. I don't understand why people crap on it. It's like it's probably one of the most interesting ideas. It's like, hey,
and
we're gonna
it's
put Ripley on a planet with a bunch of serial killers and rapists
uh,
where they're all trying to be good, for
right,
lack of a better term, you
yeah,
know, and we're
um,
gonna throw an alien in there. Also, it's like, dude,
with no weapons.
and Charles S. Dutton. Charles S.
Yeah,
Dutton is awesome in that movie.
and Charles Dance, yeah, and you figured he was going to last longer in the movie. So like, yeah, so like, so yeah, David Fincher definitely is like my pick. Like as much I love Edgar Wright because I love Scott Pilgrim and everything is just like
That's a,
I
Scott Pilgrim is another one of those movies I never understood the hype behind.
okay. So it's I like Scott Pilgrim a lot because I got to see that in theaters and. No, that's not the only reason why, but I really like the soundtrack and everything.
Okay,
And that's one of the movies where I'm like, because I like Beck, and so that's who did the soundtrack. So it kind of like, so I
I love that. I mean, but here's the thing: it's like, don't get me wrong, there are movies that have great soundtracks, but just because the movie has a great soundtrack doesn't mean that I'm going to love that movie.
understand. No, totally.
It
Like
just means it has a great soundtrack.
right. Oh, movie. Um. So I think I like Saltburn came out. I don't think have you heard of Saltburn? It's on Amazon.
No, that one's
It's it's a weird
oh
movie.
okay.
I really enjoyed it, but I think the soundtrack is really really good, better than the movie. And
Okay.
because it uses like 30-year-old songs in the movie, and even though it's supposed to be set in modern times, and I'm like okay, but everything it looks old. So it's a nice contrast of everything. It's like it's modern day, but it's everything is like
But the soundtrack is old.
yeah, it's not like I like that. So okay, so this is the one I think I don't. So this is just me thinking. Um, this may be a little controversial because I can't remember what your stance was on these two guys. So I'm like, you know what? Let's do two big blockbuster directors. I put
Okay.
Zack Snyder and Christopher Nolan.
What was the first one?
Zack Snyder.
Zack Snyder and Christopher Nolan. So again, I'm I'm gonna take Zack Snyder,
Okay.
um,
Oh,
and
so
mainly because Christopher Nolan falls into the same category as Stanley Kubrick. He's only done a few good movies. As much as people love the Batman Begins and
I
Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, you know, um,
did
Batman
we?
Begins was the only one that was good out of all those three, in my opinion. Again, this is my opinion. Insomnia, awesome movie.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
The pro-
Interstellar, awesome movie. And what's the other one?
yeah, Memento.
Inception. Inception, awesome movie. Memento, don't understand it. Don't get it, man. Do not understand the hype to that movie. I have the Christopher Nolan collection. I've
Hmm.
watched, and I got that for free out of a contest that I won. And I watched
Okay.
every movie in there. And again, I like the I films, Interstellar, Insomnia, and Inception.
Uh,
And I like Batman Begins. Dunkirk was a giant piece of dung crap,
I haven't seen Dunkirk yet.
you know. Um,
It just didn't fit my.
I just it truly amazes me that people still give Christopher Nolan money to make movies. It
Oh
really
really?
does because
So,
yeah, I think he has a hard time telling a story. I really do.
so
You know.
that was my problem with Tenet. I think we talked about this as well. Like Tenet just looks confusing as all can be, and I'm like, I'm not in the mood to deal with a movie that's like where I have to watch it 8 or 9 times to understand it. What I don't mind
Right.
watching a movie 8 or 9 times, but I don't want to have to watch it 8 or 9 times to understand what's going on. Um,
Right.
but so yeah, that's and the thing is like Zack Snyder that I will choose a Zack Snyder movie over most movies just because one of my favorite movies of all time is The Watchmen. Like it's superhero or regular movie, I love The Watchmen.
So Zack Snyder wins. Zack Snyder wins, in my opinion, basically because of Dawn of the Dead.
Oh really?
Yeah, I don't like the original Dawn of the Dead. People are like, "Oh, but this movie's so great." Dude, once you get to the pie fight scene, I'm done. I've checked out. I'm waiting for the movie to get over. It's just I love Romero. Don't get me wrong. I love George Romero, but I think this is weakest movie
I, th-
in the Night, Dawn, and Day of the Dead series.
I think uh,
Even though a lot of people feel the complete opposite.
I think Day is the best.
I
You
think
know, I even though I watched Dawn more, which isn't always a sign of it's a good like it's my favorite. It's just because it's easier to watch, and because sometimes I can't like you have like with Day that movie's like serious. Like it is like
yeah,
from start to finish like it's a mood. it's like there's one mood and it's a downer the whole movie, and
It's a downer. Yeah, ain't that the
and
truth?
it's like you have to prepare yourself to watch those kind of that movie because it's like you got a guy who's like you have that one guy he's going through it, he's seen some things and he's about to he literally wiped out his entire bunker because he had a mental breakdown. um you got the soldiers who are just
Yeah,
way out of character, like probably they probably were like normal human beings in real life, but like the world around them has shaped them into like whatever. And then Frankenstein, he's mutilating corpses and stuff. Like it's just a downer of a movie, but it's a great downer of a
yeah,
movie. but yeah, Zack Snyder definitely my choice as well because um
yeah. Zack
uh,
Snyder. Yeah,
it's just his movies feel more epic than Christopher Nolan movies. Like even with 300 and uh like what else did he like? I love Sucker Punch. Like
I
I
like
just
the
love.
I like the Watchmen. I mean, I don't think I need 300 copies of it, and 300 different cuts of it,
I understand.
But I actually enjoyed the Watchmen. I never read the comic, even though the comic book was out in the 80s when I was reading comic books. Never
Uh,
read it, and so it was
so
something new to me.
gotcha. All right, so here's a fun one. So like this is also kind of in the same vein as like which one do you prefer, but this one's a little bit more closer together because I was watching a movie with Ariel the other day, and we were watching a movie, and it's like, have you seen this one? And she's like, no. And then she was giving me a scene from the movie, and like that's the movie I just literally just asked you about. And she's like, oh, what? They get they're all like they just kind of run together. They're the same movie. I'm like, oh, okay. So, but I'm like, oh,
Understandable, you
that
know.
got me, and so I'm just like, okay. So it got me like that conversation got me thinking about like what other movies came out at the same time that are very similar. So here they are. Okay, so our first two movies are there's three. One of these movies I have not seen, so I'm kind of counting on you to see it.
Oh, okay. Never
um,
know.
no, same. Like, no, I really didn't know about this movie existing until until I wrote this, doing some research. So, because I take these questions very seriously, so I'm like, so the first two movies came out in 1997, Volcano and Dante's.
Okay.
Um, which
Oh
Volcano?
man, that's a tough one because okay. We got Pierce Brosnan and I
Tommy Lee
believe
Jones,
Linda Hamilton in Dante's Peak. We
right?
got Tommy Lee Jones and Anne Heche in Volcano,
And Don Cheadle,
and
John Carroll Lynch. Like
John
there's a
Carroll Lynch.
he's the one who gets melted, in Volcano.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah.
This is tough
Um,
because
oh,
I
that's a
got to
tough
see
one.
these. I got to see both of them, and they're both drastically different Volcano movies. But they are like because like I don't remember like Dante's Peak is not exactly a lava volcano. It's like it's more about the ash and the explosion of the volcano.
Okay, you just made my decision for me.
Oh yeah, okay,
Yeah, I'm good. Okay, being from the Pacific Northwest,
okay,
and May 18th, 1980, Mount St. Helen Blue.
okay. Oh yeah, I forgot you actually have experience with this.
Yeah, and Mount St. Helens Blue, and I was out on Lake Washington, and you could look to the south, and you could see this giant plume of ash in the sky. My grandparents were actually in Eastern Washington, and they were getting rained on by
Oh,
by by this ash. This ash went something like it went as far as like South Dakota or
oh
something
really?
like that. That's how. Yeah. So I mean, that being said, and again, like you said, I have experience with this. And Dante's Peak takes place in the Pacific Northwest. So I take Dante's Peak, but that's not putting Volcano. I
Uh,
love Volcano.
Same.
So
Like, I mean, that's what movie we were watching. We were watching Volcano, and I'm like, "Have you seen Dante's Peak?" And I'm naming exactly what I do normally. Like, you like with Pierce Brosnan, he's James Bond, um, or like Linda Hamilton, Terminator, and she's just looking at me like, "Huh?" And then she's like, who's like. And then we were talking about then we were watching Volcano a lot more, and it's like where's the scene where the two people get boiled alive? I'm like, oh, that's Dante's Peak, and she's like, oh, then I have seen
that
it.
Dante's Peak, yeah,
So, like, I have to go with Volcano
understandable.
when where we're actually split on. I like Volcano better, um, I because I
That's
just
that. No, that's a tough. I get it. That's a tough one. Tommy Lee Jones gives like a phenomenal uh
for performance
performance in that movie. I actually
and
believe he's a volcanologist.
right, I right, and like and there's a like so like the only reason okay I would if I had to pick why Volcano edged out Dante's Peak, it's because of one scene in Dante's Peak that like really even my dad I remember my dad was like we got to see this in theaters, and this is like one of the few things I remember is that when the grandma gets out of the boat and starts pushing the boat quicker to shore, and I'm like, but they were
Right.
she ends up like dying from her burns because how acidic or the water
Because the
was,
water became acidic. Yeah.
and like I think that was the only reason why. Like I remember my dad like, "Why'd you get out for? Like, come on, like you were. I know the boat was melting, but or leak, getting ready to leak, but it's like they were close enough to the shore where it would have been fine. But it was just like I think they just needed to get her out of the picture for a moment. Like, like we don't need an old lady dragging us down. Like, let's just kill her off. So
Dude,
that
it's
was
all about family. It was all about family. She's
so okay. So okay. So I didn't realize that one was going to be as hard as I thought it was going to be. Okay, so here's another one.
yeah,
All right, these two movies both came out in the 1998. We got Deep Impact and Armageddon.
Armageddon.
Armageddon, same. Like, I just
I just
strictly on.
watched Deep Impact last week,
Oh, really? I think the
but it
cast
takes a long time for the show to get going.
for Deep Impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the only part of that whole movie is like to me is the ending, is where everyone is just like accepting their fate. I think that's the movie, right? Where like it just hits and everyone's like it's over. It's just
Yeah.
like because the actually like the meter actually hits the earth on that, and it's just like oh I'm like that was nice because to see an actual disaster movie like not end well for the most part.
The meteor
But
hits, but it's not as drastic as they thought it was going to be because it was blown up.
all
But
right, all right,
I mean, it's got a stellar cast again. But to me, Armageddon, I I don't know. I like Armageddon just a little bit more. The to me, Deep Impact, like I said, I recorded it off cable and I watched it just last week because I hadn't seen it in a long time. And I'm like, okay, and sitting there going, I'm sitting there watching it. It's only like I think it's like 2 hours long, and I'm sitting there going, "Well, we haven't gotten to the part where this happens or this happens," and I'm like, we still got like 45 minutes left, and I'm like, okay, it's taken this long for this. It just seems like a very slow um, rise before they get to where I want to go. Whereas in Armageddon, at the beginning of the movie, they're like, okay, we need a bunch of oil rig drillers, to go up and you know do a job for us, and it sounds like the dumbest idea ever, but again, another stellar cast: Steve Buscemi,
Yeah.
Bruce Willis, Michael Clark Duncan,
Right.
Liv Tyler, Ben Affleck, Will Patton is in that
Right.
movie, you know,
Owen
and
Wilson for a moment.
oh oh I fr- okay, well, there's a not a big Owen Wilson fan, but I always forget that he's in that movie. But yeah,
He dies really quickly.
um, yeah, but
But yeah,
I I enjoy it. It's a goofy movie, a goofy premise, but what are you gonna do? Actually, the first time I saw that, I I haven't cried, but I get choked up every time at the very ending where I can't think of his name. The no where William Fincher.
oh, yeah, that's him. Yeah,
What he walks
that's
up to Liv Tyler and says, "I just want to tell you how brave your father was."
yeah.
Every time I get choked up because I think it's such a stellar performance. I'm like, okay,
Say what you say. Say you can say a lot of things about what's his name, Michael Bay, but Michael Bay can make a movie. Like he can
yeah, I can.
yeah, it's
They're like,
like
oh, he just likes to make explosions and this and this. I'm like, dude, he Michael Bay is a modern day Roger Corman. He's giving people. Roger Corman said, give him boobs, blood, and babes, right?
right, right,
And
and
in
if you
in,
want,
in Michael Bay's defense, it's give him bombs, explosions, and whatever. And he's the modern day Roger Corman.
oh,
He's not working on a Roger Corman budget, but he's going by his own.
paint like Pain and Gain, and then you got Bad Boys, and then like this one, like there you go. You got your boobs and Pain and Gain. You got your
Yeah.
bullets and
Well, they're in a
bombs.
strip club in this movie.
Yeah, yeah, but there's like no nudity, but yeah, but it's like, um, so so we're both agreeing on Armageddon.
Yeah.
So this movie's only separated by what 4 years? Okay, I think yeah, 4 years.
Okay.
Um, it's Daylight with Sylvester Stallone in
Okay.
1996, and then in
Okay.
2000, there's a movie called Daybreak. Okay, is they are essentially the exact same movie
So
where
Daybreak or Daybreakers?
Daybreak.
Okay. Well, because there's Daybreakers, which had Ethan Hawke in it about vampires.
No, oh no, this one's called Daybreak because Daylight. Have you heard of these movies?
I've heard. Yeah. Yeah. I've heard of
Okay,
Daylight. You might want to rattle my cage a little bit about Daybreak.
okay, so okay, Daylight. I'll just I have to tell you this to tell you that. Daylight. Essentially, both movies are set in a tunnel, and they're trying
Right.
to okay, where Daylight, an explosion goes off. Okay, and then Daybreak, an earthquake goes off. That's the only difference from what I could tell about the movies.
Oh, okay. I think I have seen Daybreak. Um, now that you're, like I said, you had to rattle the cage a little bit. Between the two, so just do you have an idea of who's in Daybreak?
It was crap. I'll look it up real quick. It the cover looked from. I knew who was on the cover. It was I can't remember, but I know Daylight has Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Um, who else is in? And I remember watching Day. I think I went to the theaters and seeing
So there's
Daylight.
something special about.
Um, Daybreak. There's Daylight. It popped up first. Apparently, it's not on Voodoo because I was just gonna look up the cast on there. Daybreak. Yep, I don't see it on there. It's not, at least not on here, and that's the only way I can search right now because I'm on my phone doing this. Because Daybreakers does show up, but it's the vampire movie. But yeah, I think yep. I don't. I'm not seeing that as a option, so I may not. It may not be on Voodoo, so it may be that It may be that obscure.
Okay, Roy Scheider, Ted McGinley.
Yeah,
Okay, Roy Scheider, the guy that played the
Sheriff
sheriff
Brody.
in Jaws.
Yeah.
Sheriff Brody. Between the two, because now that I see who's in it, yeah, it's Daylight.
Yeah,
And there's
same.
a special reason behind Daylight.
Okay.
Sylvester Stallone. Again, there was a time when he was making these movies like Daylight and Cliffhanger, where
Yeah,
it wasn't Rocky, it wasn't Rambo, he was playing like he
and
was just
over.
playing Copland.
Oh, I love
Copland Copland is one of his best films ever,
and over the top.
But
About
Daylight, he actually his son is in it, Sage
oh,
Stallone,
I didn't know that.
and yeah, a lot of people don't know that. Yeah, it's so he made this movie with his son who is now dead.
Yeah,
And
that's why I know that. Like I knew what happened. Just that's actually really nice. That's
and he was
honestly.
Sage.
Go ahead.
Sage was also the owner and our co-owner and runner of Grindhouse Video.
Oh,
So Pieces, what is it? Pieces, The Beyond. If you buy those movies, you're basically supporting his family.
oh, that's
And the other guy that owns it too. But Daylight, I always loved it, man. I mean, it was like
yeah.
I
I
I like Stallone as much as people. Is he a great actor?
no.
No. Has he had great roles and had great performances? Yes.
I I
Again, I'll go back to Copland. I will defend Copland to the death.
I agree. Like I really enjoy. I'm looking up his like filmography right now. He like as much like yeah, Rambo like. But I'm trying to think of like other like you said like there's other movies like Get Carter. I thought he was good. Driven. I remember that. I remember Driven. That was really good.
Get Carter.
Or
I loved Get Carter.
um
Another movie in the Pacific Northwest.
um oh
Assassins.
yeah
Another movie in Seattle.
one of my favorite is Tango and Cash. He's teaming up with Kurt Russell, and I'm just like, you can't pass that. Like I
Tango
love
and Cash.
yeah. So yeah, so we're definitely on Daylight.
Him trying to explain to him what when they're escaping, and he's
Oh,
like, "Well, if you touch the ground, then you're grounded. That's how it works." Because they're putting the leather belt over the wire. He's like, "How do you
right.
know I'm not going to get electrocuted? Because you're not grounded."
Oh
But
man.
Judge Dredd has one of the best lines in it. Rob Schneider
Oh,
is in it, and he does a
oh man.
Stallone
Okay. So
impersonation,
here's a oh you're the
and
law.
to me, it's to me it's always been the line that and
What was it? Sorry, you kind of cut out there.
it,
Oh, we're having some technical difficulties.
and do that.
All right, here's a
Okay.
bonus one. Just
And
the look. Judge Dredd or
do that.
Demolition Man. We're doing a bonus one.
Judge Dredd or Demolition Man, Demolition Man.
Oh, 1000% as well. Like
Yeah,
I can't beat
I
Wesley.
want to know how this. Just because I want to know how the shells work.
Oh, all right. All right. So our final question of the day is this one is definitely going to be this. Like I don't mean to end it on a downer note, but I really like,
No,
but you gotta have to ask these questions every now and again. Which actor's death affected you the most?
wow.
And this one, I don't think I have an answer
So I've
yet.
always been a Steve McQueen fan.
Okay.
I've always been a Steve McQueen fan, and Steve McQueen was someone that, to this day, I still love watching Steve McQueen films. So when I heard he died, from cancer,
Mm.
or yeah, cancer, and it's really weird because the movie came out,
Mm.
but I think it was just because he had a connection to the Pacific Northwest, and that's
Oh,
Brandon Lee.
okay. So yeah,
You know,
I was trying to think like because I obviously I've been bummed about things and like oh man I hate to see that guy go or this person go, but I the one I really like as much as I like so like there I finally narrowed it down. This took me a minute. Like once I wrote the question down, I'm like, do I have an answer for this? And I was just like, what would be it? Like it came down to two people. It came down to
yeah.
basically they both in the same franchise, but at different points in their life and times. And one of them kind of okay, I'll have to rephrase that here in a second. It came down to Leonard Nimoy because as much as I love Star Trek is very big in my wasn't very big. So like when he passed away, I'm like,
Understandable.
wow, like that. Like I grew up on Star Trek. Okay, so
I grew up on Star
um,
Trek too, but that didn't affect me as much because I'm just like, okay, he was an old guy, whereas Brandon Lee was 20 some
so
years old and Steve McQueen was 40 something years old at the time, you know.
so here was my actual answer was Anton Yelchin, who plays Chekhov in the. So that
That
ended up being
one
my.
that one
So that
surprised me. That one, yeah.
so hard.
I'll put Anton Yelchin right next to Brandon Lee any day. I will.
So and I was just like, wow, I just like I loved him as Chekhov. I love the Green Room. I love Odd Thomas. Like he's like watching that movie got me into reading the Odd Thomas series right now of books, and I'm loving it. And that's the only way. That's how I'm picturing Odd Thomas in these books is his character.
And it was so just like Brandon Lee, again,
Yeah, Luke.
it
Yeah.
was a freak accident.
All
His
right.
car kicked out of drive, or kicked out of park and into drive, and pinned him between his car, which was a Jeep
Yeah.
Cherokee, I believe at the time, and the gate to his house,
Right.
just crushing him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it didn't affect me, but it was one of those deaths where you're just kind of like, holy crap, you wake up and you go, how does this happen?
Right.
Just
No.
like again, like Brandon Lee, it's like, how does someone accidentally get shot? I
Yeah.
mean, where's the safety?
Right,
You know?
exactly. So that was like I think it's because he's like young enough to be around my age, and he was a very good actor. And I watched him in like older movie, like he was in Hearts of Atlantis, I do believe, and something else that I really like. I'm like, oh, that's him. I didn't realize like how young he actually started acting, and then like he still had a full career ahead of him, and that's kind of like why it really hit me hard, because it was
Oh yeah.
like he had these three big budget Star Trek movies, and it's just like, and then he died shortly after that last Star Trek movie. I'm just like, wow, like I can't
Well,
like.
that and the Green Room. I mean, the Green Room was his other big movie
Mhm.
because it seemed like right after. To me, I remember him dying after the Green Room came out. Was it
Okay.
after the third Star Trek movie?
I thought it was more closer to the last Star Trek movie, because people were like, "Oh no, like, like, are they going to recast him?" And then that was like, "No, we're definitely not doing that," because I think at the end of Star Trek, the third one, they says for Anton.
Oh, you're right. You're
So
right. Yeah, yeah.
so yeah, that's
And
the
I
one.
really like Star Trek Beyond. That was a really good one.
And there was also another close one was Roddy Piper, because I'm big into wrestling, and like with They Live is my personal favorite John Carpenter movie. So
Yeah.
it,
Again, I mean, Piper
like
at the time he died. I mean, he'd already had like both hips replaced, and you're just kind of like, dude, if you keep going, you're basically going to die in the ring. I
right,
mean, that's the way I felt when it came to Piper.
but
Because he kept on showing up. He would show up like every couple of years, and he'd be like, he'd there to be there to antagonize and piss somebody off, and the next thing you know, they're throwing him around, and you know, you're just kind of like, okay, so is this the one? Is this the one where he gets his head bounced off the turnbuckle and he has a stroke? that's
right, no, really, like, so okay. I mean, there's like I also
that's how
had
I
like,
feel about Flair too.
oh, I honestly thought he was going to die in that last match. Like, I'm not no lying, because I like he openly admitted that
Yeah,
he fell asleep or whatever. I'm like, dude, like you had one of the best swan song matches
yeah.
all time, and like no, but but anyways, but okay. So I do have a little PS to this one. Um, so obviously, I do not wish ill will on anybody, but or like I don't want to like put any bad juju into the world. But is there a current actor, when that time has come, that will affect you? Like, is there like an actor that's working today that like when that news finally breaks, it's like, oh man, that's gonna be tough, because I got one. So
I th- I mean, he's not young. I mean, he's getting up there in age, but I think the one that I would probably like, oh my god, Denzel.
oh yeah,
Denzel is such an awesome actor. I've said it before. I've never seen Denzel Washington make a bad movie. I might not have
like
liked
the
the
movie.
movie, but he's never made a bad movie. So
So
Denzel, and I'm just trying to think if there's anyone else. I mean,
my
like
my
Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood's like 90 some years old, dude. He's gonna die like tomorrow, and it's not gonna be much of a. I love him as an actor, but he's got one foot in the grave and the other on the banana peel.
right. um, mine will be Samuel L. Jackson. Like, if he would
Okay,
if he would
I
go tomorrow, I'll be like, oh my god, like we didn't we never got the Mace Windu show or him being able to like or something, you know, like something Star Wars related. I'd just be like, oh man, because I watched a movie from the year 2010. It's called Unthinkable. Have you seen this?
Yes.
Where he play where he plays the interrogator, you know, like, and where they're trying to find
Yeah.
the nuclear bombs and everything. And I'm like, wow, you're really good in this movie. Like he's perfect at playing someone who's good at his job at the same
He's
time.
he's a lot like he really is a lot like Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington is a chameleon. He could take on any role, and then the next thing you know, you're watching a movie for like the next 2 hours. You're like, he is that role.
Right.
Whereas there are some actors where, like, still, let's say Stallone. Stallone will take on a role, and you're like, okay, well, it's Stallone for 2 hours. You're still enjoying yourself, but you're not really, except for Copland.
Right. Like, like
you know,
you forget you forget that's Stallone or you forget that's Denzel
that's
or whoever.
Denzel, or you forget that's and Sam Jackson's the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, you might hear his voice, and he might sound like Samuel L. Jackson, but he's Nick Fury. He's Jules Winfield. He's
Right.
you know you know, and
Mace
you
Windu.
just see Jules Winfield and Mace Windu, and yeah,
Oh man,
you
I'm
don't
trying to
see
think.
Sam Jackson.
Right. Or I'm trying to think of other or Jackie or what's his name from Jackie Brown, Robbie Odell. You know, like
Yeah, yeah,
so. So that's probably one of my favorite Sam Jackson. Like as much as I love Pulp Fiction, I think as performance wise, I think Jackie Brown is better. Like you know, Pulp Fiction he's a little bit more like I like subdued Sam Jackson. You know, if that makes sense. Like because he's always like the trope where he's always yelling and everything. But
Black
like,
Snake Moan.
oh yes, yeah, yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
So okay, so that's all my questions for today. I think we did. So I'm like, I I do have a few more, but we're kind of out of time for the day. So we
yeah.
gotta do.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say we have to wrap this up.
yeah, I gotta do family time today. So um, so yeah. Thank you. Like we, this was a long. Hopefully, we'll get a little bit more frequent with these. We did go a few months without
Right.
doing. But um, but at the same time, I rather do when we're like ready and everything, and because today's we're at like it's a really relaxing day, so I'd rather not be like rushing to do it. You know what I mean? So it's like
Right.
uh, we're on our
We have a
even
few topics. We got Scream we could do,
right.
and
What was the other one?
you should write this down.
Yeah, we should have been like I usually take notes. I like because I get to watch because I was looking at my other pages and like I haven't watched Kaleidoscope yet either, and I'm like oh yeah like he told me I should totally have watched that movie and I never got to around to watching it. So like with Warren Beatty, right? That's who's in it. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes. 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 Yes.
so I never got to watch that and um, yeah, Scream. I think what I know we talked about some other like it. Well, I'll have to rewatch it real quick and make. Oh, that's it. So, but yeah. So, but I have obviously I have a ton more questions for next time, and I always look forward to creating these questions for us. So, you want to like hopefully you feel better. Hopefully your
I
infection goes away. I'm always looking forward to seeing. Can't wait to see you back in front of the camera in the Doom room.
yeah. I loved. I think my favorite thing was your reaction to the Kubrick. The Kubrick questions. Like, you're like you didn't
Yeah,
even think about it, and that's like no. I've said before I've never been like the biggest Kubrick fan. I mean, he's made a couple of good movies, and that's how I feel about Christopher Nolan. He's made a couple of good movies, but I mean, I haven't seen Oppenheimer, and I know that a lot of people. I think you yourself are championing Oppenheimer as being a good movie.
I
I just haven't seen it yet. Who knows? He might have made a fifth good movie.
So Oppenheimer is really good. I really do enjoy Oppenheimer, but I think I mentioned I this is what I tell everybody. I can watch long movies, and so but I always have to take into
Oh, I can
account
watch long movies. Yeah.
I always have to take into account who I'm talking to. It's like my dad; he can watch long movies. Like okay, but like some people, like I can't watch no 3 hour movie. I'm but with Oppenheimer, it's like if you watch an hour and a half of it, it ends just about right to where you can stop it and then come back the next day and finish the other hour and a half and be perfect. So it's like it's essentially two movies in one. That's how long it is and how well it's structured. Because there's a point where when they like you don't like when they start building the bomb, it's like halfway, and then there's like the rest of the movie. I'm like, wow. So
So I'm gonna I'm gonna ask you a question, and I'm gonna give you time, till the next time we do this
okay,
to come up with an answer.
okay,
So, as you know, James Higgins over on Facebook is doing those top 10 things,
oh, I've been seeing your post. Okay, yeah.
right? And he said he wrote me and he said if you ever have an idea for like anything, just send it to me. So I sent this idea to him, and um, last week I watched The Right Stuff,
Oh, the
you know,
astronaut movie.
the astronaut movie,
Yeah. Sorry,
and
that's
I love no, 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 no. I love these kinds of movies. But I'm like, okay, so I could sit down, and after I was over, I'm like, so I could sit down and I can watch. And I thought, oh, the perfect, uh, uh, God, why am I brain farting on this?
very good.
The perfect triple feature or quadruple feature
Okay,
where the stories, it doesn't have to. What I'm saying is like it doesn't have to be franchise related.
okay.
So not Friday the 13th, 1, 2, 3, and
3,
4.
4. Right.
But
You want
so
something like
I'm like, okay,
Mad.
so
Uh,
this is what I thought of. I thought, okay, October Boys or October Sky,
okay.
which is Homer Hickam learning about rockets and shooting rockets off up in West Virginia,
With
and going to work for NASA. Going to work for NASA. The Right Stuff,
NASA.
Apollo 13. So they're all NASA related, but they're not exactly the same story. And
Right.
you could sit down and watch this really, you know. So can you think of three movies that could kind of interconnect with a similar story,
Oh,
you know?
you have a similar. Okay. Oh yeah, I can do that for sure. Because do you want them all horror or do you want to like? I can do one of each. I can do kind of like or like just like a fun trilogy, and then I can do a horror one that like has like kind of like not
Do
like
whatever you want.
not like four zombie movies, but like four similar themes of a horror movie, like where like so I have done this. This ain't my answer, but I've done um this one was I did this. I can't remember which movies I did. I did the See No Evil, Hear No Evil, and what's the other one? Um,
Speak no evil.
Speak No Evil. I kind of did stuff like that like um where I think one of them was Hush, where she couldn't hear. You know that movie, where
Okay.
I did Speak No Evil. I did. I can't remember. I can't remember which one I chose for that. That one was kind of hard. Um, and what was the other one again?
See
See No.
no evil.
What I went for the easy one, Kane. You know, kind of
Dang.
I like.
Yeah,
Um,
Jacob.
I hadn't
Jacob
seen
Goodnight.
I haven't seen that movie in a long time, so I'm like, well, you know what? It's in the title. So, but then, yeah, then Speak. I think I can't remember which one. I was trying to think of someone who was mute and or something along the lines of that, or like
See,
the
if I went that way, speak no evil, see no evil, hear no evil. Speak would be easy because I would just do Wishmaster.
oh that would okay. Or yeah, I could have done like yeah, or, like, I don't even think I don't even what I did. I could have done it like don't speak the words of this and like yeah, I
Yeah,
could have done. Oh,
Evil
I can't remember.
Dead.
Yeah, here we go. It brings it back around. Like so, and I will also, I'll kind of like, I'll kind of even like bring back the conversation from earlier. It's like what is slightly below um, Evil Dead in the like the franchise list. Like because like Scream's above it, but what's kind of below it? Like what's not quite as good as Evil Dead, but so I'll have an answer for that one. And where Evil Dead falls in on my overall list. I think it's definitely top 20 as well, just like you. But like, I don't.
Yeah,
So, so okay. So I got to think of a trilogy or quadrilogy of movies that are could watch and like that has similar themes. Okay, that's gonna be fun because I've done double features, but like, it's either been like, oh, it's the
yeah. Double
remake or
features is easy. You know, that's
yeah,
like, oh, hey, a shark movie, you know, or something like that, you know. And
right. So
but I
right,
just thought, well, man, I got done watching this movie, and I was like, wow, I could go because I love October Sky.
that's with Jake Gyllenhaal, right? That's like or
That's with
maybe I'm thinking of a
yeah, I
different
think it
movie.
is Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okay.
Laura Dern's in it. They're all these
Oh,
four kids from like West
right.
Virginia, and they shoot off a rocket, and they get to meet. Only one can meet Werner von Braun, the guy that helped develop the
And the
funnel for rockets, and
coal mine and all that good stuff too, right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Christopher, I can't think of his last name, but the guy that was the trainer in Seabiscuit is the father in this movie.
Oh,
Um, but
so
yeah, so I'm like, I could watch October Sky, and then I could watch like the right stuff, and then I could watch Apollo 13, and you could just watch the progression of NASA, you know, and none of them are related. I mean, they're related in the fact that they
it's
have to
all
do with
events.
it's all space and yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna have fun with this one. Okay, I will have that for the next video. I'll have to write this down. This one I'll have to write down because I always go back and look at my previous notes. Like, um, think of a trilogy. I'll know what that
It,
means.
it could be trilogy, quadrilogy. I mean, there was another movie, but I didn't really think it. I watched another one that had to do with space. What was it called? It had James Woods in it. Fly Me to the Moon,
Oh, okay.
and it had to do with them sending. It was like at the same time. It was during the Apollo stuff, or not Apollo, but during the Gemini stuff.
Oh yeah,
When they were going to send a monkey into space.
Echo's here. Don't forget. Oh, oh yeah, we
Add
need that.
Birdemic to the list of movies you need to see.
I don't think I've seen the.
You
I
don't
think
need to see it, dude.
Oh, I think it's because I think there's a third movie that I have not seen. So, it, the, yeah, from what I understand, the third movie is epically bad. Like,
The first movie is epically bad.
so, but yeah, thank you, Echo, for we're literally wrapping up here in a second. Well, thank you. But yes, I will definitely come back. Thing is, I'm going to come back with two different sets. I'm going to have one where it's like kind of like
I
an everyday man's trilogy, and then and then a horror like esque.
All
So
right. Yes, Echo. The Russians sent a dog, but the dog died in space, and then the Americans sent a chimp.
yeah, to the sun. So all right. So yeah, thank you everybody. Thank you Echo for coming by and saying hello. As always, I am Brother Max now. The originator of the name. Everyone just keeps calling me that now. So I'm like, change it. Like the one and only MSJ is still my handle for everything, but it's like it's just Brother Max just rolls off the tongue just way more
Brother
easier.
Max. Yep.
um, so yeah, where can they find you? Hopefully soon once your infection goes away.
Hopefully, I'll be back in the Doom Room doing my thing over on YouTube, and you could check out the 13th Wolfman channel anytime. Um, right now, there's not a whole lot of new stuff up because of what I've been dealing with, but yes, I want to be back in the Doom Room talking to y'all about all this crazy stuff that Max and I talk to you about. You
Uh,
know,
it's
um,
good to get sit here and talk about just things that you haven't been able to talk
yeah,
about. Maybe that's our general topic for next video. It's just like things that just to do like a catch up video, like what's been going on. And
we could do that.
yeah, like the last couple ones have been topic centric. Maybe we just like we'll write down a couple topics what we want to talk about, and we'll just kind of like throw them out there. And like, oh, it's like, what do you think about this? Oh, okay. Here's one before we go for sure. That like this kind of honkers back. Did you see that Robert Mall passed away, or Martin Mall passed away?
Martin Mull, yeah, I did see
So
Martin Mull pass away again. Uh,
I knew he, like taken away from his age, but like he was a big part of Roseanne, and Roseanne is like one of my favorite shows.
he was a
And
big, yeah, well, he was a big part of Roseanne later on when they owned the diner and
right,
whatnot. Um, I
I was
he
a
always
Clue.
had such a
He had a weird career, didn't he?
clue. Oh, yeah, he was in Clue. When it comes to Martin Mull, there are certain actors that have this really weird, dry sense of humor
Yeah,
that doesn't always translate. To and there's sometimes I mean like Clue, it worked. Roseanne, it worked. Sabrina the Teenage Witch, yes, I watched it mainly because of Melissa Joan Hart. Um, but it worked. And but then if you go back to like his early career, like there was a show called Fernwood Tonight, and it was on in the 70s, and it was one of the weirdest shows. But I know people that love this show, and I never got it. It was that weird dry humor. It's like Monty Python. I don't understand Monty Python, and people love Monty Python.
so
You know, it's that humor. It's that kind of humor that I just don't get.
full disclosure, I almost put Terry Gilliam next to David Fincher to really have a very contrasting directing style. Terry Gilliam is like
I'm not
literally like
saying that I'm not saying that the people from Monty Python aren't talented.
yeah, I know what you mean.
I'm just saying if you watch Monty Python stuff, they do this really even like Life of Brian or In Search of the Holy Grail, they'll do they do this really weird stuff, and it's like kind of like you're just going, okay, I get it, it's weird, but it's not funny. It's just weird. And
I
then they
get you.
make something called Spam-A-Lot, and you're just kind of like, why? Why are you know?
Right,
But that's me. That's you know.
right,
But then again, I mean, I'm not saying all British shows are like that. It's like because I love Red Dwarf, so
right. Yeah, I forgot that was another thing that I should have watched since the last time. because we talked about that as well. So yeah, okay. So I got a couple things I should be doing for the next video. Is at least watching some Red Dwarf. I got some to make and some questions to do. So I got a lot of work to do in preparation for the next video. So yes, definitely I'm like well over family time going. So but thank goodness I have the next
Yeah.
day to go, and so we're going to go. Hopefully, go swimming here soon.
We're gonna
So
go have time with our families.
oh cool, Red
All
Dwarf is on
right.
Tubi. So nice. It was on Tubi or
There you
is.
go.
So hopefully I can watch that.
Is or was on TV.
Yeah. Like, so yeah. So hopefully.
All right.
So I will see you all. Thank you, Echo, for coming by. Wolfman, thank you for doing these videos with me, as per always. Oh, Tubi. I was actually checking. But yeah, we will definitely have a full. We'll have a full-fledged video next time already. We already got it. We already got it figured out. So
What was this? All right. Take care, man.
you too. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.